I've never done a webinar actually in this format, which is going to be really fun. Very simple concept here. We're going to do live coaching calling, cold calling, excuse me. And by we, I mean Aaron is going to be making cold calls live. And I'll introduce Aaron here in a second. So he's going to be making calls. You're not going to be able to hear because we can't, for legal reasons, let you hear what the prospect is saying, but he's going to be taking notes down as the calls are going. So you get an idea of what they're saying, but you're going to be able to hear Aaron. And then afterwards, we'll do that for 15 minutes. For 5 minutes, we're going to do some quick feedback. He's going to adjust some things if necessary, and then try that, kind of report back on it. And he is using Orum's platform, so he's going to get a lot of like dials in, which is going to be really good. So there should be several conversations that you guys get to check out here.
Aaron Milner is an AE at Orum. Aaron, you and I, God, I think I might have cold called you or something a couple of years ago, or sent you a cold email or done something. But that's sort of how we met. He's an AE now at Orum. You had reached out. We've talked a lot more to each other over the last, couple months. And you were like, hey, let's look for some ways to collaborate. I think it might be cool to make some cold calls. So that's what we're doing. Let's spend a couple minutes here. What I want to talk to you about is permission-based openers. What's your philosophy at Orum around permission-based openers? How do you open the call? And I want to give the audience and everyone else tuning in here something to really kind of focus in on and lean into and listen to in these first couple calls that you're going to do.
Absolutely. Can you still hear me okay?
Yep.
Cool. I think I got the same Atrium cup. Way to go, my good man.
Yeah.
We're just sales nerds. So I love a PBO. For me, a permission-based opener always helped my reps just kind of slow down a little bit. It took some of the pressure off. When we start making a cold call and we're uncertain if the person's going to keep listening, if they're about to hang up, we can't see their face, so we can't see if they're like nodding to the rhythm or if they're just shaking their head and, not digging it. So folks have a tendency to ramble. Folks have a tendency to talk really fast. And so for me, a quick permission-based opener kind of took the pressure off and it let them know that, all right, I've got my 30 seconds to go here and I can put my best foot forward.
Yes. And you do something a little different that you guys are going to listen to here in a second. You actually like to put an icebreaker on the very top of your intro. You want to explain kind of what that is and the reasoning behind it?
Yeah. There's a lot of folks that talk about, should you say, is it a good time? Should you say, is it a bad time? Should you ask, how are they? Or how have you been? For us, we like to just kind of get a chuckle out of them. So when I introduce myself, instead of asking how they are, we ask, are they keeping you busy over there? We might say, are they keeping you busy on this Wednesday? Are they keeping you busy since your big promotion in January? Are they keeping you busy since the merger you guys had a couple months back?
Yeah.
But it just it gets a chuckle out of them, and they'll chuckle, they'll roll their eyes, and they'll be like, yeah, really busy. What's up? And I say, I know you are. I know you are. Thanks for the time real quick. And then boom. It I think brings some levity to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So a little formula here. We got icebreaker plus context plus permission. Okay. So what I want everyone to kind of tune into, Aaron's about to start dialing here in a second. Listen to how he opens his calls. And then what we'll do is break in about 14, 15 minutes, Aaron. And then we'll go back and kind of give feedback and all that good stuff. So I'll go ahead and let you take it away, man. Share your screen, get the dialer going. And You guys feel free in the chat. If you got questions about what he's doing, if you got comments on what he's doing, want to make this as interactive as possible. So drop that into the chat as well.
If you get a call from a 303 number, please answer, because I'm going to be calling sales leaders. I might call you. So a quick little piece as I start the dialer going here and just pull up my list. I'm able to call through my outreach sequences or my one-off outreach call tasks. So I'm just pulling up my tasks here. That context piece that you mentioned, Jason, I think is so important. I don't like asking folks for 30 seconds of their time, or if I can tell them some detail and ask if it's relevant when they have no idea what I'm calling about, right? So I like to give just like one sentence of what we do and then ask, can I tell you a little more? And you can let me know if this is something on your radar. So that context piece, I think, is so smart that you pointed out, and we're going to hear that.
So just because people are asking, we cannot actually show the Orem screen here because it's got the prospect's information on it, and that's like apparently something we're not supposed to do from a legality standpoint. So what Aaron's going to do is he's going to be writing notes in on the conversation here, so you guys can get an idea of what the prospect is sharing. But yeah, we can't share like their phone number and their email address and like all this other stuff. But here's kind of the dashboard that he's working on, just so you guys get a better idea of kind of what he's doing.
And here is just, these are not real folks. It's not their real phone numbers or anything. This is kind of a demo version just so you can see what it looks like. But I've got all my pre-call research. I've got their account. I can sort the list however I want. And we're about to be making multiple dials at once. And it's just going to connect me when someone answers. The folks that don't answer, they get a no call, a no answer disposition. It moves the sequence along to the next step. I could drop pre-recorded voicemails if I had those, set to go out. So that's what it looks like. But yeah, now I'm going to be calling real people. These are my real prospects. And so I'm going to pull that off to the side to protect their PII. All right. So these are kind of the titles I'm calling through. SDR leaders, they have reps making a ton of calls. Sales leaders sometimes have reps making calls, but other times they just need the SDR team to fill up their AE's calendar more, right? So I'm going to try to show you who I'm talking to and then update you as they go. But I think you're all going to really love this, and we should get a connection every 90 seconds or so, thanks to Orem. And we're off. I'm going to be calling 5 people at once, and I've got it sorted by the account name. So if I've got 5 people at one account and I know something about that account, it's going to call all those people kind of back to back so I can mentally prepare to speak to that company and their pain points. I'm looking off to the side here because I've got it on my other monitor, of course. I can dial through specific sequences. So that's one way that I can be prepared. I know that everyone in this sequence, they're about to get this message, right? So, I can strategize and organize my list in a way that helps me be prepared. Right now, I'm calling a company where I was actually a sales manager for years and years, and I cannot wait to get a hold of someone there because they need Orem. I know from experience. All right, we're about 9 calls in here. My connect rate's about 5%, so about every 20 calls or so, we get a connection with my real target key players that I've researched. I've sent them emails. I've been on their LinkedIn. I think we're going to set 2 or 3 meetings during this hour, believe it or not. All right, we've got a lot of no answers here, which is great. Hey, Lauren, this is Aaron with Orem, the live conversation platform. They keeping you busy over there? It's Orem, the live conversation platform. I was reaching out because BlueConic moved to Outreach recently. We're actually the platform that Outreach reps use to make all of their calls every day. So I wanted to just kind of introduce it to you if you have a moment. Gotcha. Appreciate that. Are they making a lot of calls? Do you happen to know? Is the phone a successful channel for the team? Awesome. Makes sense. Okay. Are you somewhere you're excited about? How are things going? Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Well, great. Congrats on that move, and please stay in touch. It's Aaron, Aaron. I'll drop you a quick note on LinkedIn, and let me know if I can do anything for you. Thank you. Bye. All right, so she actually just changed roles. I research these folks very frequently. So last I looked at her LinkedIn, she was still at the company, but she just left. Apologize, I'll get better at actually updating these notes. I'm not in the habit. I'm just listening intently. But she said she just left companies. Was trying to get some intel, see if she thought it'd be a good fit. She was very nice, but just wasn't really helpful. So I wanted to let her go. And that's how it goes. No biggie. It's easier for those calls to kind of roll off your back. I'd have reps, they'd spend 90 minutes. They finally get a connection with the perfect title and she just left the company. Ooh, that can be deflating. Not as big of a deal when I can get them on the phone so fast. All right, so I'm using my no longer with company outreach disposition. That's going to automatically pull her out of sequence. Everything that my normal outreach dispositions and rules and triggers do for me, Orem does for me right there. So I'm all set. I'm ready to keep cooking. Any quick thoughts there, JB, or keep cooking and we'll connect in 10?
Yeah, let's debrief on it. I don't want to interrupt you in what you're doing.
All right.
Are you able to talk while it's dialing, or do you want me to keep silent? I don't want to distract you, but if you want to fill the time, you can talk to me too.
we can fill the time. We can fill the time.
You're calling direct dials because people are asking in the chat. Direct dials and not, stuff where you're going to be talking to assistants and stuff like that.
Great question. So for me, there's 3 types of numbers: direct, which includes mobile. Then we've got live human gatekeepers, and robot dial trees, where you listen to the menu and spell the last name. Those live human gatekeepers, we get those moved out of the way. We only want to call those folks one at a time because someone's going to answer, right? And then I get to build rapport with that gatekeeper, hopefully get pointed around, etc. So we call those just one at a time. And I can, give more detail on that, but it's unnecessary. The robot dial trees, the cell phones, the direct phones, I'm calling those in parallel. Orem will actually navigate the dial by name directory for me. It'll press 973, then spell the last name first, wait for the voicemail greeting, drop the voicemail. So it's great for robot dial trees, direct and mobile, but I've got the live human gatekeepers out of the way.
Awesome.
All right, I'm dialing again. In a moment, I'll give a quick update on like how many calls we've made as well. All right, so we've had one connection so far, no help, but it helped me clean up my database. Now I've got that nice person out of the sequence, so I don't bother her. I'm able to choose my call from number. That's a big one as well. I've had reps where their cell phone got marked as spam, their outreach number got marked as spam, their Vonage number. Any phone number can get marked as spam, and you're kind of in a tough position when that happens. Orem gives me a selection of grade A business numbers to choose from. So, if I was calling super early and I was just calling East Coast, maybe I choose a New York number. Late in the day, I'm calling California, a bunch of Expendables fans. I could use a San Francisco number, an SF number. I have some friends that would yell at me for calling it San Francisco. So that's really cool too. If I've got someone on the list that I really want to get a hold of, I can choose their area code. It's not number spoofing, JB. I loved your post the other day about number spoofing and how it actually brings a negative result to your connect rate. We all get those calls where it's darn near your cell phone number. It's just a couple digits off, right? And when you answer it, it's about your extended car warranty or whatever. Now no one answers those calls anymore. That's bad, to your point, right? What is really effective is being able to use a grade A business number that doesn't show up as spam from the area code of my choosing, right? So we're not faking a local number. We're just picking our area code. All right. We've got 5 calls going here at once still. We're plowing through these. All my outreach steps are being achieved. So now those automated emails are going to go out. I never have a bottleneck because I've got too many calls to make, and now my outreach sequence is stuck. I've moved 50 people through sequence so far. We're about to get a bunch of connections though, because our connect rate's about 2%. It's usually about 5 or 6. So we're about to get a bunch of folks. For me, one of the hard parts of cold calls was that when someone would finally answer after a half hour, I wasn't at my best. I had to set my cell phone down, sit up in my chair, get back to my screen, get off LinkedIn, get off Slack, and with Orem, when I get a connection and much more frequently, it's easier for me to stay in the zone, be at my best, be energetic when they answer.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
I'm reading all the transcriptions, so we're getting these voicemails that say, hey, this is Aaron, leave a message. Orem's actually does a really clever thing. It marks those as a name match. One of the sneaky advantages I got as an Orem customer was it helped me clean up my database. Hey, Jason, this is Aaron with Orem, the live conversation platform. I actually caught you a couple weeks ago when you were about to leave the house with your son. Is it a better time real quick? Appreciate you big time. I know how busy you are. As mentioned, Orem is the live conversation platform that actually integrates with your SalesLoft instance and helps your people get through their due cadence call steps much faster. I was actually just calling 5 folks at a time just now, and you answered. I've got all my notes about you. I know you're on Salesforce and SalesLoft. You have SDRs and BDRs, and you were hiring BDRs recently. I've got my note that you've been at this company for over 4 years, right? And I've got my reminder to myself that I interrupted you the other day with your little man. So it gets me into conversations fast, and I'm incredibly prepared. I hope I'm doing all right here, right? So listen, I know that you don't have SDRs or BDRs reporting to you, but I'm grateful to introduce the platform for you. I wanted to see if your AEs were making calls and see if you thought this would help the SDRs and BDRs, fill up your team's calendar for you. Yeah, no doubt. That makes perfect sense. Can I ask this? I'm talking to a lot of folks like you that lead sales teams, and they're mentioning that, frankly, close rates have dropped a little bit, and they actually need a little bit more pipeline to hit the sales number than they used to. Has that been your experience, or is closing That actually makes a lot of sense. I know like Shopify and other e-commerce groups like they actually can come out of a situation like this in a much stronger position, right? Like at the beginning of the pandemic, when every sales team went from digital first to digital only, gosh, groups like just became so important. So that makes a lot of sense. That's great to hear. Do you happen to know, are the SDRs and BDRs making a lot of calls day in, day out? Or how do they get their meetings for you? Is it like 50 calls, 100 calls? More is better if you're connecting. Yeah, but no, that's a great point. The, for that 50 calls, you may or may not know, but I would imagine that could take them up to 90 minutes to get through. And sometimes that's the worst part of the BDR SDR job, right? They make 90 minutes of calls. And to your point, sometimes they might not get anybody on the phone. With Orem, I've made 50 calls in the last 10 minutes, to tell you the truth. It can really help bring a higher call volume for them, but also some time back in the day. 7 months ago, during the Great Resignation, teams were actually looking for like morale boosters and retention tools, and Orem was that. Now everyone's like, please give me pipeline now, and Orem does that too. But from that call volume, 50 plus, I think Orem would make a big impact. Sounds good. Would the SDR and BDR leadership be worth reaching out, or is it all RevOps? Makes perfect sense. Appreciate that. The last thing I'll mention is that this is not a big lift for RevOps. It's not a big project. It just integrates with your SalesLoft, do tasks so nice and easy. So you've been very generous with your time. I'm going to put together a nice email for you. I might wait an hour and put together something really meaningful for you. And appreciate you sharing it with the team. And I'm really just grateful that you know about us going forward too. You too, Jason. Thank you. Bye. And all of your guys' reps are probably better than me and probably would have locked that gentleman down. I'm talking to the group now. We're off.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure. Let's debrief on that one. There's a couple things. Just like, can you fill in the context? You took notes there, but who were you talking to? What was his role?
Director of Outbound Sales.
Oh, Director of Outbound Sales. So who is he managing then? If it sounded like he wasn't managing SDRs.
He's not. He's managing AEs. And so that's why I was asking him, like, hey, how's your close rate going? Do you need more pipeline than you used to? Do you have reps making calls? He said, no. SDRs and BDRs make the calls. But yeah, that's why I jumped to that. I put these up here so I could kind of highlight and be like, this is a sales leader. So I should have done that. But that's why I shifted to, all right, well, is the SDR and BDR team feeding you enough? Some folks are saying their close rate's dropping. He said, no, we're actually pretty good. People need e-commerce and we have a great product. So yeah, he was a sales leader.
Got it. So he was basically managing outbound AEs that take calls generated from outbound sources. Okay. There's a couple things I thought you did really well to highlight for everyone. I like how after you got kind of through that initial intro, you went back through and said, well, hey, let me ask you this. What I'm hearing from a lot of sales leaders, you talked about the close rates thing. You did what I call a priority drop, right? Close rates have gone down. They're trying to generate more pipeline, et cetera. Like that part was good. What I'm wondering also is, does it make more sense to start the call with that? So, hey, Aaron, Jason here. No, I probably caught you in the middle of something. You got a minute for me to tell you why I'm calling you. You do your permission-based opener just like you did, which worked fantastically, right? I love the rapport and like how you broke the ice and all that other stuff. Well, hey, here's what I'm hearing a lot of sales leaders like you telling us that they're running into right now. One, close rates have gone down and their team is having to generate extra pipelines. So they're asking their AEs to self-source, or they're just needing more out of their sales development team. Or two, I know that this is one thing that you had mentioned too, doing more with less was something that we talked about. So hiring is slowed down or frozen, but pipeline goals haven't decreased. Are either of those two by chance something that you're thinking about or focused on right now? I think you could try starting with that and get the conversation there. Because what I worry about when you're selling a tool is that you always kind of get pushed down to the level of your business acumen. And you have a lot of business acumen, And what I worry about is like when we talk about the tool too much, he's thinking, well, who manages the tools versus who's in charge of the outcomes? I don't know. What do you think?
What a tremendous reminder. Can't agree more. It's all about outcomes, not features or the platform itself. So I love everything you just said there. I was hoping that he was going to bite on the, oh yeah, we actually need more pipeline than we used to, and get
Yeah.
his wheels turning there. So I did a very poor attempt at what you're describing. I try, but I love everything you just said, and I can't agree more.
I have one other thing too that you might try on the email objection. I always like to ask one more time for a meeting. So when someone says send me an email, you kind of say, well, hey, I'm really curious. Would this be for your eyes only, or is this something that you might want to share with the rest of your team? If that context helps. And you do like a little more discovery like you did. Like that was the brilliant part of this, is there was a lot of good intel gathered. And it's like before I send the email, I'm like, hey, Aaron, actually, can I make a crazy suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
How about we just put 5 or 10 minutes on the calendar, and that would actually take less time for me to kind of unpack how I think this might be helpful than for you to read through an email that I'm going to send over. Do you have your calendar handy? And just go straight in for the close, dude. I think you could have done one more time, but this is me being incredibly picky, dude.
No, I love it. I need more of this. We all need more of this.
Yeah.
So a little bit more context. He asked to send an email. He was saying RevOps handles this. It'll be RevOps. Yeah. They implement it. They make these choices. I was asking, should we talk to the SDR and BDR leadership too? And he's like, no, it's all RevOps. I'd be happy to forward an email to RevOps. So he started off just like very nice, saying, "Oh, it's pretty cool. I'm not the one who handles it, but I'm happy to introduce you to the RevOps people that would." I could have pushed more for a meeting for sure, and tried to get that RevOps person to join, right? Like, hey, do you have access to that person's calendar that you're describing? Is there a time that you're both available coming up? You're so right. Maybe honestly, so if it took me 90 minutes to get that call, I would have twisted the heck out of his arm. Honestly, I've become much like cooler. It's like I think I would call it commission breath, right? Like when I'm talking to folks, I'm able to learn more, ask more questions. I'm less desperate, but I need to make sure that I don't get too easy breezy, right? So everything you're saying there makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Let's make some more, dude.
But gosh, yeah, I need some more meetings. We got 2 meetings to set here. Let's go. All right. So that was awesome. I just learned a ton about a company. Now I feel so much more prepared to talk to other folks at that company. And all of those notes. So I've got all my pre-call research notes that I did on day 1. They get beefier and beefier as I talk to folks throughout the account. I'm kind of feeling my way through a dark room with my hands out, trying to learn about this account. And it's important that that's all stored in one note. I'm not putting all these notes in a call task that's going to get buried with other emails and calls. I've got it in my one research field that helps me prepare and get warmer. So a quick call out there. I just actually had a LinkedIn post about that topic the other day. If anyone wants some ideas on day 1 research and how to scale at that research and how to get warmer through the calls, that's important. Like that's why that call went so well. I had the reminder to myself that I interrupted him with his son the other day, right? So connect with me offline if you need any more tips there. I think it's one of the big differences between successful reps and reps who struggle. All right, we got 5 more calls going right now. An SDR manager, SVP of revenue, vice president of sales, SDR manager, mid-market and enterprise sales manager. So I'll do a better job of letting you know which title answers here coming up on the next one. Hey there, Savannah. This is Aaron with Orem, the live conversation platform. They keeping you busy over there? Oh, gosh, I know they are. Thanks for the time real quick. I know I caught you cold here. I'm calling about the platform Orem. It's actually how we're talking right now. It integrates with SalesLoft and Outreach to help you get through your call tasks much, much faster. So I was just calling 5 folks at once. You connected, and thank you for that. Now I've got all my notes about you. I've got all my notes about the company. And, I'm able to have a nice warm conversation just, so much more frequently than when I was using the click to dial. Can you kind of imagine what I'm picturing? Does that sound like it'd be something that would help the team? You too. Can I ask, what was your experience with that dialer? Did it help you get more conversations, or how'd it go for you? Can I ask? That's funny. I know what you mean. Can I ask, is the phone a successful channel for the team that you lead? Are they getting a lot of meetings over the phone? Yeah, same here. Especially with the persona that you guys sell into, they're tough to get over email, right? So I've sold to a similar persona in the past, and the phone was a really successful channel. Can I ask this? I recently I have a note that you folks were hiring outbound SDRs. Are you still growing the team, or was that a backfill, or are you guys growing? Oh, that's great. Congrats on the move. Yeah, that was a recent one. Congrats. Very nice. So now you've gone from being a hardworking SDR to an AE that just complains about SDRs. Like, never. Good. Don't be one of those. They, as you know, they're the lifeblood. A lot of groups I'm talking to, their inbound has slowed down a tad, and so they're having to keep the foot on the gas pedal for outbound. Is that something you guys have experienced? Totally, yeah. I understand. Yep. Not a part of the team that would make that decision anymore, but really grateful to get a hold of you because you've got all the insight, right? From the SDR's perspective and from the AE's perspective how things are going. So I'm really grateful to get a hold of you here today. Let me ask this, and you've been very generous with your time. I'm not going to keep you on all day, but I really want to learn as much from you while I have you that I can. How many calls are the SDRs making every day? When you were on that side, was it 50 calls or 100 calls, 10 calls? Cool, it makes sense. With that kind of call volume, that probably took you, did you have 2 call blocks, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, or were you able to pound all those out in an hour? What'd that look like? Beautiful. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I like that approach. That was the same for my teams as well. Yeah, from what you're telling me, it sounds like Orem could really move the needle for those folks, help them get through many more calls, help them fill up your calendar big time. Do you have a recommendation on who, on the SDR leadership side I'd want to reach out to? I'm probably reaching out to them already, but anybody out of the ordinary that sticks out to you? No worries. No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. If I emailed you some info, and you could say, hey, I didn't tell Aaron, I didn't sick Aaron on you. I didn't tell him who you are. But, if I sent you a little bit of info, would you like to share it with the appropriate folks if you found it compelling? Yeah, I really appreciate it. I bought this platform in the past. We've actually got a number of account executives over here that were former SDR leaders that bought this in the past, and it makes you a believer. So I promise I won't get you in any hot water. Really appreciate you, forwarding it along. And then if those folks found it interesting, they could, they could let me know when the time's right. Thank you so much. It's Aaron with Orem. I'll shoot you a note on LinkedIn as well, and have a great day. Congrats on the promotion. Okay, we're good.
So, okay, here's one thing I think that you could. So this sounds like it was someone that was tagged as a SDR leader in the data. Okay, yeah.
She just got promoted. Yeah.
I think that one thing that could help actually with this priority drop style is to just talk about the outcome. So when you say, hey, I'm calling about Orem, and then you go into what Orem is, that's the very first thing that you do. If you want to keep doing that, that's fine. I think if you say, hey, we're doing this, I'm calling you, we have 5 people, and sales leaders experience these types of outcomes with Orem. Their reps are able to talk to 3 times as many people, so they're filling the top of the funnel. We talked about, hey, so sales leaders that have pipeline requirements that are increasing and closing rates that are maybe, lowering, but still being expected to do the same thing. We're helping reps reduce ramp time, et cetera. I would talk about the outcome of the thing if you want to start with that. The other variation of that would be not to start with, I'm calling you about Orem. It would be, I'm calling you about the hiring that you guys are doing right now. And starting with the trigger, I'm calling about BAM, the thing because you're already doing all of this research.
Right.
And I think that it'll get because what I worry about, and this is again, not the ideal prospect to be talking to, but what I worry about is the conversation is so focused on the technology that people are they're disqualifying themselves.
Interesting.
When they're really the people that would sign off and really champion something like this. You know what I mean? So I think you could do it in 2 ways. One would be, hey, I'm calling you about Orem that does this, and people like you experience these types of outcomes, or it helps people like you with these types of challenges. Do you relate with any of that? Or starting with them, which I'm a big fan of doing. Hey, I'm calling because I noticed that you're hiring, and correct me if I'm wrong, typically when I talk to sales leaders, they're focused on 2 things when they're hiring. One is, how do we reduce ramp? So how do we get these new SDRs, these new AEs to self-source and get their own pipeline and do it faster and have more conversations? Or oftentimes we're hearing is that because closing rates are down, pipeline requirements are increasing. So we're hiring more headcount to make up the difference. All right, but I think if you start with, like, if you could do one of those two approaches, whatever is easier for you, it needs to be more about them and the outcome and challenge it'll help them with, or starting with them.
Great call out. Great call out. Okay.
You're so smooth on the phone, dude. I love it.
Probably.
You got a lot of experience.
Well, yeah. No, these are great call outs though. Keep it about outcomes. Try to lead with the pain. Try to drop those priorities like you mentioned, right? And let them kind of choose and self-select their path on which of those outcomes or priorities is relevant. That makes a lot of sense.
Because you could even say something to a sales leader like, hey, I get that you're not the person necessarily that would implement a technology like this, but a lot of times sales leaders are trying to accomplish these outcomes, which is why I was calling you.
Right. Love that. Okay. All right. Very helpful. All right. Let's do that on the next one.
And people are talking about smart calling in the chat. Great book. I know Art. Really great book that I would check out. I got a little feature actually in that book on his newest edition.
I actually need to check that one out. Half these books behind me are sales books, and I don't have that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, here we go. I need the right key player here. All right, and then we're gonna freaking set a meeting. All right, so I'm calling a sales development team lead, sales director, CRO, VP of sales, a chief marketing officer. Normally, that would be when we learn something like that the SDR team reports to marketing. I don't typically call a whole lot of marketing personas. They often find Orem to be incredibly impactful, though. You know, every marketing team is trying to figure out how to increase that ROI on their digital spend. So marketing personas can really find Orem attractive, but I typically stay away from them. The fastest way to get a connect is if I leave this screen. So maybe in a moment, I'll check analytics and see how many calls we've made. And then sure enough, someone answers immediately as soon as I leave the screen. It's a pro tip. But we've got through probably 50 or more calls. It's achieving the steps, dropping pre-recorded voicemails. Some of those pre-recorded voicemails are really strategic based on the sequence as well. So if the last email in the sequence, the last step was an email where something notable happened, or we sent a case study, my next pre-recorded voicemail can mention that. It's going to drop the appropriate pre-recorded voicemail based on the sequence and step. So I'm calling hundreds of people. They're all in different sequences. Some are on day 1, some are on day 20, and it's going to drop the appropriate voicemail. So again, you can have that mention your previous email. I also like to do kind of the opposite and have my voicemail say, "Hey, I'm going to send you a case study in 5 minutes via email. If you'd like to chat, you can reply to that. Make it easy for you." So that voicemail gets left for me, 5 at a time here. Outreach moves the sequence to the next step, and that email goes out in 5 minutes, delivering the case study as promised. So voicemail strategy. JB, I know that's something we've been chatting about recently. It's such a big difference. We've actually got data that shows that the pre-recorded voicemails can boost your subsequent call pickup rate by over 25%. So if I had 20 meetings, 20 connects in a week, now I've got 25 connects in a week just from leaving those pre-recorded voicemails. It's a big, big boost. So even though we're not getting connections right now, I'm making progress. My sequences are cooking right along.
What are you guys using to get data?
Zoom Info and Lead IQ. Neither company's paying me, so I shouldn't even mention. I'm just kidding.
One of them's paying me though. So
okay, good. I'm also a big fan of Lusha. I used to pay for whitepages.com for my team, and if we couldn't find a number, we'd go on Whitepages and look, and we started to find that if Lusha didn't have the number, not even Whitepages had it. One quick, my dog is barking. We probably have an Amazon package arriving. One quick note on Lusha is they were actually giving my team different results if we were on one person's LinkedIn page versus if we were on a saved search looking at 50 people on LinkedIn, 25 people on LinkedIn. So for any Lusha users, keep your eye open for that. And maybe they fixed that, or maybe we were just using it wrong. But I do like Lusha a lot. What's today? Wednesday? That was probably our every plate delivery.
Loving the chatter in the chat. Everyone, keep it coming. Let us know what you're taking away, what questions you got, comments, all that kind of stuff. And been pretty active in the chat.
All right, I'm getting a call back. So I actually get a big prompt up in the top right-hand corner of my screen. Who's calling back? I'm going to pause all my calls going out, and I'm going to pick up this call. Ben, this is Aaron with Orem. How you doing? Thanks for calling back. Okay, thanks. No problem. Bye. Hey, Greg, this is Aaron. Sorry about that. I had 2 calls at once. How you doing, sir? Great. Thanks for the time real quick. You and I actually talked in July. You asked me for an email that said, you asked me to send this. I'm not sure if it's ringing a bell. It's Orem. It's the live conversation platform that integrates with Outreach, and it helps your SDRs get on the phone with their contacts 10 times faster. Sometimes it's so darn good, you get 2 people at once like I just did. And so it helps your team ramp faster and just generate more pipeline per rep. Yep, exactly. SalesLoft Outreach. So it would just integrates immediately with their SalesLoft cadences and helps them get through those do call tasks, simultaneously. So, most of our customers actually, yes, it is one of a kind though. There are some automated dialers that just call every number under the sun, or, it's kind of a one at a time click to dial. Orem is very unique in the fact that it can make simultaneous calls, but not to random people, to your do SalesLoft cadence tasks. I'm actually a former customer, and I shopped multiple, and Orem is rather unique in that way. Yeah, you're exactly right. You're kind of just waiting for those live connections, and when they arrive, when folks answer, I've got all my notes about you. I originally was calling because you're hiring SDRs, and when folks are hiring SDRs, there's kind of 2 things on their mind. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but we're trying to get those folks to ramp as quickly as possible. And it's usually an indication that you just need more pipeline, of course, right? And so, Orem's going to connect your folks to those calls, help them have more conversations, help them set more meetings. Most of our customers, believe it or not, actually double meetings within their first quarter using Orem. And that was my experience as well. It's priced per seat. It's just a per seat, pricing like any other kind of SaaS product. I'll mention this. It's a big investment. It costs more than SalesLoft costs, but it's more impactful. When folks are hiring like you were, and again, that's the reason I was calling you, what we're trying to do is duplicate our best rep. We say, all right, I need more of Sarah. We know what we're hiring for now. We know how to train them up. We know the playbook, right? We've got the cadences dialed up. We just need to go get more of our best people. And what I found easier and more predictable and less expensive was getting Sarah twice the conversations, right? Let's go get my best reps more conversations. So that's how I kind of looked at it, and how I got it approved, even between budget cycles, was saying, don't make me hire 5 more. Let me hire 4 more, and let me give this team superpowers. So, we've got it's pretty unique. I've been looking forward to catching you again. If you wanted to check it out, I would actually make some live cold calls in front of you, so you can see how the platform operates. That's right. I talked about going to a dog park in my email. That's right. We can make that happen. I live near Chatfield. They've got a good dog park. Cool. How many SDR managers do you have now? Like, can you just help me understand what that team looks like a little bit? Awesome. I'll mention quickly for that SDR, that EMEA manager, Orem works great across the pond as well. Specifically for Ireland and UK, in those English speaking territories, Orem uses artificial intelligence, and that robot only speaks English, but it'd be great for those folks too. All right, cool. Looking at end of August. Yeah. So you definitely don't hear. I did use Orem to call you today and last time we talked to exactly right. And you're right. You don't hear a robot. You don't hear anything funky on your end. It's actually really important from a compliance perspective as well. Orem is compliance first, compliance forward. And some of those auto dialers that have a negative stigma in the market, it's part of those reasons, right? They're playing a pre-recorded robot voice to a live human. It's against the law. So anyway, yeah, you definitely don't hear a robot. I'm making simultaneous calls. You answered, it pulls up all my notes about you. Those other folks that did not answer, they just get a missed call. And you actually get a lot of callbacks that way too. But yeah, it's you don't hear a robot voice. Great question. So you can absolutely. So we'd help you pre-record voicemails specific to cadences and steps. So even if your rep's calling 100 people and they're all in different cadences, it's going to drop the appropriate pre-recorded voicemail based on the cadence and step. So you can have a breakup voicemail that says, hey, I can tell timing's not right. I don't want to clog up your inbox. I'm going to send you one last email. Please reply if you'd like to chat, right? I can have an email in the middle of my sequence that says, hey, if this is of interest, I'm going to send you a case study in 5 minutes. Let me know a good time to chat. And then your SalesLoft cadence automatically delivers that automated email with the case study as promised 5 minutes later. So not only can we help you drop pre-recorded voicemails, but I can give you some ideas on how to do it in a way that gives an incredibly personalized feeling to the prospect. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know how busy you are, but we'll make the most of your time. I'm looking at like the 25th, Thursday. You want to do 3:30? Cool. Yeah, no doubt. I love calling people at the very end of the day, very beginning of the day. That's when my connect rate's the highest. So 3:30 sounds great to me. I'll just be calling Mountain Time and Pacific Time. And, if it works for that new SDR manager coming in, great. If we need to adjust it, of course, I'm happy to. I'd love for them to see it too. I've been looking forward to talking to you. Thanks so much. And tell the dog hello. Danny Milner. No, I don't. He sounds like a good looking fella. Oh, she's a woman. I'm gonna look her up. But no, I don't know her. So, but that's cool. It's a small world. It's not very common. Yeah, I have a couple customers with the last name, and I say, hey, cuz, every time I email them. Yeah, it's not very common. Well, right on. Really appreciate talk. Sounds good. Talk to you on the 25th. All right.
Dude. Woo!
Man, you are the GOAT coach. I've known this for years, but man, I needed this session a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I want to commend you for being extremely coachable, dude. Like, you literally put into action exactly what we just talked about. Like, you talked about the outcomes, you connected it to priorities. Instead of saying, I'm calling from Orem and here's a lot about what we do. It's like, no, I was reaching out to you because you're hiring right now, and here's usually what that means, and like boom, 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 boom. What was the prospect? What was the prospect saying? That last part was hilarious, by the way.
It was, yeah.
I was dying, dude.
So, I'd sent him an incredibly personalized email in the past. I've only emailed him one time, right? Yeah. And I was like, hey, like his LinkedIn photo is him with his dog, and he's from Colorado. So I was like, dude, let me make some cold calls in front of you. Let's take the dogs to the dog park. Maybe we could do a dog park cold call combo. So just now he's like, hold on, let me find that email. Because, he said, put in the email, title it, put the subject as, you asked me to send this. So I told him that. He's like, yeah, I ask for that all the time. That doesn't help. Hold on, let me find it. So I'm like, well, give us different subjects or something then, sir, but so he was just saying, then he was like, well, how does it work? How do you call multiple people at once? Can you do voicemails? He's like, I didn't hear a robot voice or anything. I just heard you. And, but yeah, I'm going to have to slip that guy a 20 when I see him, because he was just a very nice guy. Yeah.
No, this is great. If you're cool with it, because we got 2 minutes left, let's do like a quick debrief just for everyone. What did you take away from this experience, this frightening thing that you're doing, making cold calls in front of hundreds of people, dude? I haven't done this before. I've made it in front of a team that I'm training of 40, 50 people or whatever, but I haven't done it on a webinar. I'll have to do it sometime. But yeah, so what were your takeaways?
Outcomes, right? That's the number one important thing. I talk about it all the time. I try to remind myself of that when I'm writing emails or writing scripts for my reps. But gosh, even I need the reminder, right? So thank you very much for that. If I had one takeaway, it's to keep it about outcomes.
Yeah, keep it high level. I always tell people you get pushed down to the level of your business acumen, and people, for prospects' point of view at least, when they hear a lot of talk about tools and features and all this other stuff, they think about who on their team is responsible for that instead of the outcome. Dude, this is great. I think the other thing that I took away from your approach, though, is Dude, you're so good in that first 15, 20 seconds. It's very friendly. One thing I always tell reps is you got to be hard to say no to. You're an incredibly hard guy to say no to and hang up on. And that's the whole thing that you want to do. I love the icebreaker. I think what I might be testing out is the, hey, Aaron, they keeping you busy over there? They keeping you busy over there at Orem? You know, like that opener seems to work pretty well for you. That's all I got for you guys today. This is super awesome. Make sure to connect with Aaron on LinkedIn. I dropped his LinkedIn profile into the chat, which I'll do again. Make sure to check out Orem. Let's drop a link in for that. Really, really cool solution. I come from call centers, you know, so having a power or predictive dialer or something like that to use is just fantastic. But Aaron, thank you so much for spending the time with us today, and everyone else. Love the engagement and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah, thanks to everybody for joining. We know how busy all of you folks are. Jason, I know how busy you are, and thank you for this coaching. I'm about to go set some more.
Cool. Awesome. Later, everyone. We'll see ya. Have a good one. Later.